We have several big stories to report today that will have a giant impact on Elon Musk and Tesla. First, there are reports that China is discussing selling TikTok to Elon Musk. With an impending ban by the US Supreme Court, Chinese officials are looking for contingency plans. Might Elon buy TikTok as a supplement to his X app? TikTok's US arm is valued around $40 to $50 billion. Second, OpenAI is now making a major pivot towards robotics. OpenAI has begun hiring major roles in robotics, including Caitlin Kalinowski, who was the former head of Meta Augmented Reality, to lead this new robotics division. We'll watch several videos of CEO Sam Altman talking about the importance of humanoids and physical AI. This is again supporting the recent statements by Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, that physical AI, like robotaxi and robots, like the ones Tesla are working on, are the holy grail, much more lucrative than generative AI like ChatGPTs. And the perfect person to talk to about this is Hans C. Nelson. Check out his YouTube and X accounts. He follows NVIDIA and the robotaxi and AIs quite closely. Looking forward to getting your opinions on that. Thank you, Hans.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Herbert.
This first one is about TikTok. So TikTok, as you know, of course, Elon bought X. That's a long story, whether or not he should or shouldn't have free speech, all these things. But he has transformed X, transformed it from what it used to be, Twitter, to be what he's calling the everything app. You and I use X quite a bit, and we're both pretty impressed with what he was able to do with it. Some people are saying they're still not yet profitable, not quite yet there, but it's quite clear, especially this year, they're going to add X money, the ability to make payments and hold currency, maybe even cryptocurrency. It's going to be very transformative. TikTok is being banned by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court upheld the ban or let the ban continue. And now, of course, TikTok is trying to appeal it. Chinese government owns some portion of TikTok. And so that's the concern by the US, is that it's, not only controlling the consumers in the US, but also possibly spying on them, whatever. So let's listen into this news story. The first one is, Bloomberg reported that Chinese officials are evaluating a potential option that involves Elon Musk acquiring the US operations of TikTok if the company fails to fend off a controversial ban on the short video app. And it's sounding like that it is heading in that direction. Let's listen into the Bloomberg report.
Bloomberg has learned that Chinese officials are evaluating an option that involves Elon Musk acquiring the U.S. operations of TikTok. TikTok facing a potential ban in just less than a week, actually. What are we hearing from sources?
I mean, it's sort of difficult to understand what's on people's bingo cards for 2025, but this is something certainly that's going to be capturing a lot of attention today, I'm sure. But what we're hearing from sources is that Elon Musk could be emerging as perhaps a buyer for TikTok's operations in the US, or that's at least what the Chinese government right now could be thinking as a potential option. As you said, we had the hearings from the Supreme Court last Friday, and very much the indication out of that is that TikTok's going to be forced to go so-called dark on January 19 or after January 19, unless, of course, it divests its US operations. Going dark means that people won't be able to access it on the US App Store, and that they also TikTok users won't continue to receive any sort of updates. But this is a potential deal that possibly does hold some appeal for the Chinese government, which does, of course, have say over whether TikTok is ultimately sold. That is one scenario that we're hearing about. The deal value of this, I mean, Bloomberg Intelligence, again, it's very difficult to say, but last year they were saying TikTok's US operations could be worth something to the magnitude of $40 to $50 billion. And it's also not sure what sort of structure the deal could take either, but it would certainly be a very complex process.
Wow, June 19th already, January 19th, which is 5 days. This is a big deal. TikTok is banned. What's your thinking?
Yeah, I on the one hand, that something like this that's so big and consequential and has so many vested interests by both the United States government, by the Chinese government, by the companies involved, is it's just hard to reach a deal on something like that, and everyone wants to maximize their amount of negotiating leverage. And so, I think the one thing that is absolutely guaranteed in this whole scenario is it's going to be highly dramatic. That is for sure. Will Elon get involved? I don't know. Um, he loves to, continue to expand the Muskonomy, and there may be an opportunity because people have waited so late for him to get a decent deal on this. The I'm not a TikTok user personally, but one of the things that we do know about TikTok is that they do have a really, really good AI team. He may be very interested in acquiring that talent. He obviously has strong relationships with both the United States government and the Chinese government. And so that puts him in a very interesting diplomatic position. I think that the Chinese government might be more open to him being a buyer because
Hmm.
they feel like they can exert some amount of leverage on him based on his presence in China. Um, it's a very highly dynamic and complex situation, and we definitely can't really dive deeply into all of the various implications of it here in just a few minutes. But I would say that my personal take on it is I kind of hope that this doesn't happen, just because it is something that is super complex. It involves a lot of very powerful stakeholders, and I don't think that I love the thought of the Chinese government really trying to have an even larger amount of influence over Elon Musk than they already do. Um, and one of the things that I think is guaranteed if you acquire TikTok is that you are acquiring, as part of that, you know, members of the Chinese intelligence operations without really knowing who they are, where they're embedded within the company.
Hmm.
Um, and so that also would be a concern that I wouldn't want to deal with at all if I was in Elon Musk's shoes. But he already, has to have an ability to deal with those types of things at a very high level just through his operations of, major companies, both in the United States and in China. We know that the Chinese Communist Party really takes a deep interest in any successful American corporation, and that there is corporate espionage that does occur. And so, you've kind of already got to be tooled up to deal with that. So, maybe this doesn't really present any additional exposure on his part to that. As just a normal everyday citizen, I just have no idea how all that works. And it seems very, very overwhelming. But on the positive side, you got a bunch of users, you got a bunch of data, you've got a great AI team, you've got a product that Americans love, and all those things are valuable assets. And this could be an additional like you know X is building out their video platform. It's not
Yeah, it's
great
starting.
yet,
Yep.
and
Yep.
so having a platform that's already video native, uh, that's a win right there. Plus, as I think really the ultimate value of X, besides being one of the global town squares, is their ability to work directly with XAI, and for XAI to be basically jacked into this incredible data source of text. And TikTok could be that for video data that
Yeah.
to a much higher level than the existing X video is. And right now Google kind of owns the best video AI training data resource in YouTube. And so this would help to elevate X and XAI's ability to compete with that, as they continue to grow out this massive, massive supercluster. So, there's a lot of benefits. And I would understand if Elon did want to buy this, why he would want to do that.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
wouldn't count it out as an impossibility. And maybe
Yeah.
all
The
those benefits, far outweigh the risks that he's taking.
Yeah. I think the big one would be entertainment for robotaxis. As robotaxis roll out, you need something. Now you can just partner, of course. You got Netflix, you got YouTube. You can already do that, but I wonder if there's, you as a robo taxi company, Tesla, you want to own the entertainment. You can make much more money. So imagine if you sold a premium plan to access TikTok and that video. I don't know if people will pay for it because it's free now, but it's part of the program.
Yeah. One more added thing on that, just, currently, TikTok is a platform where a lot of people get their news. And
yes,
the main reason that this ban is being put in place at all is just because a lot of people in the United States government feel uncomfortable with China's ability to manipulate the algorithms that in a large part shape American public opinion. And so the fact that the Chinese Communist Party wasn't signaling that they were willing to divest of that is pretty concerning, that they're worried about losing that influence. But I would definitely feel a lot better about the ability of an American owned corporation to try and put safeguards in place to prevent the types of abuses that people have legitimate concerns about on the part of TikTok.
Okay. So just some more points that I think are important for people to know. So ByteDance is the owner of TikTok. Their preferred strategy is to fight the ban, of course. Trump apparently has said he would like to delay the ban to seek resolution. The justices signaled during arguments on January 10th that they're likely to uphold the law, right? That's why they need to. That's one of which involves Musk. Chinese officials have begun to debate contingency plans as part of an expansive discussion on how to work with Donald Trump's administration, one of which involves Musk. There's this one part that he talked about, that how much Chinese government actually owns. So this is what Elon said in April. He thinks TikTok should remain available in the US. In my opinion, TikTok should not be banned in the USA, even though such a ban may benefit the X platform. Doing so would be contrary to freedom of speech and expression, is not what America stands for. He has publicly come out saying he shouldn't be banned. So here it is. The Chinese government holds a so-called golden share in a ByteDance affiliate that gives it influence over the company's strategy and operations. TikTok maintains that the control only applies to the Chinese-based subsidiary. So in China, the subsidiary that owns their TikTok is called Douyin Information Services. No bearing on ByteDance operations outside of China. That's what they're saying. But there you go. The Chinese government would have to approve a sale that includes TikTok's valuable recommendation engine. There you go.
Yep. Then the Chinese government, like all governments, definitely never uses doublespeak or misdirection or deception in their public communications.
All right. We'll see what happens there, but it's going to impact whether or not Elon is going to do this, another 40, 50 billion. It probably could raise money, whether or not it's going to be integrated into X. And then, like you said, valuable to XAI, but also valuable to Tesla, I think. So I'm not in favor of them doing this. I don't think Tesla needs to do this or Elon, but it's just something that might happen. So let's keep track of it. The other one that's a really big deal, we've been talking a lot about, of course, is OpenAI. They are the leader in AI, generative AI. And Sam Altman has apparently made a pivot. OpenAI is going to focus heavily on robots, and it's going to be the place where they're going to make the money. We've been saying that ChatGPT is how much money can you actually make out of this? So Caitlin Kalinowski used to be the in charge of Meta augmented reality, and now she's been hired to lead the robot division of OpenAI, and she's posted new roles, 2 very senior tech lead engineering roles and a TPM manager, electrical engineering, sensing engineer to help us design the sensor suites for robots, robotic mechanical design engineer. So they are going full head and creating their own robots or partnering. Now they did partner with Figure AI, and I think another humanoid bot company. Well, let's
1X, I believe.
1X. So OpenAI recently hired Caitlin Kalinowski, former hardware lead for Meta AR, to lead robotics. She was at the Humanoid Summit 2 weeks ago, participating in a panel discussion titled Empowering Humanoid Robots with Gen AI. Let's listen to what she said.
So I'm very excited to see what kind of data we need to inform. But I think it's pretty clear that the better data we have, the cleaner the data we have, the more consistent data we have, the better the model will be, and the better then it will work for our friends in the rest of the robotics industry.
Yeah, sorry, it was very, very low volume there. But basically, she's talking about the better AI, the better data we have, the better AI we'll have. Yeah, what's your initial reaction to hearing this news?
I would say not surprised in the least, with Elon going all in on the Optimus robot project. When he did, there was a lot of efforts that were already existing and ongoing by a lot of these players outside of OpenAI that were really exploring, are we ready for robotics to really move forward? Because the problem, like the core problem in robotics for many decades, has been a software problem. It's just hard to make software that is flexible enough and adaptable enough to make robots useful without it requiring you to do a lot more work. Like, unless you're doing the same thing over and over again, it's really hard to put less time into programming the robot than you get work out of the robot afterwards. So if you're changing what you're doing, if you need it to be intelligent, it's not. They're dumb. One of the things that Sandy Monroe likes to say that is a really good way to understand the old world of robotics is that, a robot is like a blind, one-armed Bob that, it has to be able to do everything that it does without being able to see. It's, usually huge and very, very powerful. And then it has to do everything that it needs to do just repeatedly over and over and over again. And so how useful is something that is so blind and so hard to program? AI has really changed a lot of that we're now able to put some sort of intelligence and flexibility into these systems. And that's one of the things that we've seen from not only Tesla really trying to solve autonomous driving. That's one application of this. A autonomous driving vehicle is a robot on wheels, and it's having to adapt to the real world and be flexible and do a complex task in a very, very dynamic environment. So that is a robotics challenge. The fact that it's being solved then suggests that, hey, maybe we can move on from there into robotics. And we've seen partnerships not only with the between OpenAI and Figure, but we've also seen Google and Apptronic. We know that Google is doing a lot of research into how artificial intelligence and robots are going to interface in the future. Not just the Apptronic partnership, but a number of other things. And so, these are Sam Altman's competitors. He looks at Elon as a competitor. He looks at Google as a competitor. He understands that, okay, now that we're creating intelligence, wouldn't it be nice if that intelligence could then do things in the real world instead of being merely confined to doing work on a computer or in cyberspace? And so they, of course, want to be involved in that. I think this is growing out of the partnership that they have with Figure, most likely. That they're already working together on that space. They're seeing fruit from that partnership, and they're trying to improve their technical capability there, so that partnership can continue to evolve and hopefully succeed over time.
I think they saw tremendous competition in chat GPTs, and then they realized they're going to become a commodity. And then they now know that robots, exactly what Elon has been focused on, robotaxi and robots, is the most lucrative. Let's hear a little bit of the history of what happened. So OpenAI invested in Figure AI and 1X. So Sam Altman has sounded very bullish on humanoids for the past year. In May, I'm more excited about humanoid robots than robots of other shapes. Let's listen to what he said.
What do you think has to change in how we think about how apps need to work, of how this entire infrastructure of experiences need to work in a world where you're agentically interfacing to the world?
I'm actually very interested in designing a world that is equally usable by humans and by AIs. So I like the interpretability of that. I like the smoothness of the handoffs. I like the ability that we can provide feedback or whatever. So, DoorDash could just expose some API to my future AI assistant, and they could go put the order in and whatever. Or I could say, like, I could be holding my phone and I could say, okay, AI assistant, like you put in this order on DoorDash, please. And I could like watch the app open and see the thing clicking around, and I could say, hey, no, not this, or like there's something about designing a world that is usable equally well by humans and AIs that I think is an interesting concept.
And
Same reason I'm like more
handoffs.
excited about humanoid robots than sort of robots of like very other shapes. The world is very much designed for humans, and I think we should absolutely keep it that way.
Sorry, that's what he said. Yeah. So agentic AI can, which is LLMs being able to now interact with the web. And then he said humanoid robots. And I'll go ahead and play this next part too. This is in March. He was interviewed by Lex Friedman. I really hope that as part of this transition, as this face change, we also get humanoid robots or some sort of physical world robots. So he has been thinking about it. But when you hear this, it sounds like at some point way in the future. Tell me if you've heard what I hear.
Will we see humanoid robots or humanoid robot brains from OpenAI at some point?
At some point.
How important is embodied AI to you?
I think it's like sort of depressing if we have AGI and the only way to like get things done in the physical world is like to make a human go do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I really hope that as part of this transition, as this phase change, we also get humanoid robots or some sort of physical world robots.
I mean, OpenAI has some history, quite a bit of history working in robotics.
Yeah,
but it hasn't quite like done in terms of
we're
emphasis.
Like a small company. We have to really focus, and also robots were hard for the wrong reason at the time. But like, we will return to robots in some way at some point.
That sounds both inspiring and menacing.
Why?
Because immediately we will return to robots. It's kind of like Terminator.
We will return to work on developing robots. We will not like turn ourselves into robots, of course.
Yeah.
That was March. So that was less than a year ago. It sounded like eventually, but like they're doing it now.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And to build on what you said earlier, I think that OpenAI really is in a difficult position strategically. They don't really own their models. Microsoft has rights to them. They don't own the compute resources that they're doing their training on. They don't have a whole lot of proprietary data that they own. And all of these things are very important components that go into building AI. What they do have is incredible algorithms, incredible experience, but they're going up against competitors who also have a lot of those same things. And, maybe they're a step behind on algorithms, but, maybe they're not going to be a step behind for very long. And when you look at what Jensen said at CES, how that embodied AI robot goal is really the culmination of where AI is going. And that's where most of the market value that's going to be created by AI is going to live. Then they have to be a player in that space. And I expect them to try to do a better job of owning resources directly in that effort than they have done in the past, just partnering with other people, because right now they don't, they're not really in control of their own destiny. And I think that that's not a position that Sam wants to continue to be in.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So it's interesting that they're pivoting to humanoid robots or bots in general. You were referring to Jensen Huang just at the CES, keynote speech that he gave, and he talked about all these bot partners that they have, and they're basically just selling these guys tools, software to help them. So their goal right now, NVIDIA, is to be a partner. Let all these bot vendors create humanoid bots or bots in general, and then we'll sell you the tools, inference chips, the training compute that you need to do this, the simulation software, and so forth. So he showed off all these bots. He then showed off, the tools that they would sell to these guys, right? The ability to train. Now, so their approach is still very much, we are the platform and we're selling you the tools. And that was what OpenAI did, right? So OpenAI had their ChatGPT thing, and then Figure AI showed that we can now talk to a bot and I can control the bot. Now now you got OpenAI transitioning to actually being an actual bot maker themselves. What's your thinking about that? Like eventually they're all going to probably switch to this. I'm going to try to
Well,
find
we don't know what the extent of what they're trying to develop in-house is. Sounds like they want to build robots, or at least they want to build components of robots. And it could be that they want to be essentially a supplier to these humanoid robotics companies and supply them with components and some software. But maybe they do, have the whole thing in-house. We'll have to see. I wouldn't be surprised if they do all in-house. But like Sam said, they're a small company. They do have to focus. They don't have unlimited resources. And this is an extremely expensive project from a human resources perspective. That the talent that it takes to build humanoid robotics is probably, just about the best thing that you could be as someone working on humanoid robotics right now, because everyone is going to want a piece of you in order to succeed in this future world. And yeah, I don't know that OpenAI has enough access to get the talent that they want all in-house to do this at a scale that would allow them to build it completely in-house.
Interesting. Okay. I do think that they are going to pivot. They're hiring for roles, right? You can see this. The actual, focus on designing actuators, motors, gearing, and limb design, right? So they're going to build their own. Like you say, I don't know how many. It is just robotic prototypes, like you said. Maybe it's helping. So these are just the roles that they're hiring. And then just to show people, this is their partnership with Figure. And they showed this off where the Figure and OpenAI, you can actually speak to the bot. And, let's listen in.
Hey, Figure One, what do you see right now?
I see a red apple on a plate in the center of the table, a drying rack with cups and a plate, and you standing nearby with your hand on the table.
Great. Can I have something to eat?
Sure thing.
Great. Can you explain why you did what you just did while you pick up this trash?
On it. So I gave you the apple because it's the only edible item I could provide you with from the table.
So that was pretty impressive. But that just shows you how OpenAI has already partnered with a couple bot companies. They can partner with as many of them, but they've integrated the intelligence into the bot, and that you can communicate to the bot. The bot can communicate back to you. It can understand the world. It can know what's going on. It can make decisions and take action. So that was their original goal, was to be the brains behind these bots. Now they're going to make themselves. So you're thinking that maybe it's not quite fully a robot company yet.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how, even if their goal is to eventually make robots completely in-house and be a competitor to Figure AI and Apptronic and Tesla Optimus and all these people, that's something that they're going to have to develop over time. Like the positions that they've listed, that's like 2% of what you would need in order to be a fully, in-house developed humanoid robotics company. And so there's a long way to go between here and there. And we'll see that, progress flesh out over time. So at first, this team is going to be tasked with supporting their existing partners. And that's what this is going to look like for at least a while. And we'll just have to see where it really evolves to from there.
Yeah. I'm of the belief that OpenAI is in trouble, which is weird to say because they're so well funded and they're so far ahead. But as always, Tesla and Elon Musk, right? They are.
We hear all day long, every day, how this is an NVIDIA bubble and NVIDIA is the next Cisco and blah, blah, blah. I think that OpenAI is much more likely to be this generation Cisco than NVIDIA is. I mean, Jensen is just the best picks and shovels businessman in all of the tech industry right now. And it's super impressive what they are doing, what they have done, what they'll continue to do. And, a lot of these efforts, I think people miss the fact that Jensen is just trying to invent ways for more people to use NVIDIA hardware and software for more things. And he's been doing that for 20 years. He's going to continue to do that. He doesn't want to necessarily be the one that is building self-driving cars. He just wants to give people tools to build self-driving cars. He didn't necessarily want to be the one who was, like creating graphics for computers, but he wanted to give people a graphics card so that they could design these beautiful worlds that they could then render on computers. And so they've been, inventively creating markets for many years, and they're going to continue to do that.
Yeah, it's hard to see NVIDIA or OpenAI competing with Tesla because, again, it's all about manufacturing. Now, NVIDIA and OpenAI can partner with many other companies, and they can then do manufacturing, and then combined together could be a formidable force, no doubt about it. But, that's what OpenAI is missing as well, is manufacturing. So sure, they want to get into robots, but you haven't built one yet before.
I mean, they haven't built anything yet.
They've never built anything. Not
anything
company.
Physical. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just another proof point that the place to be is where Elon and Tesla has always been. Robots and robotaxis. That's where you're going to make the most money. That's the greatest use of these AIs that are being formed. That's the one where everybody wants to get into. Tesla's way ahead. Yeah, okay. This is fun. Thank you so much, Hans. I love it whenever we do a show, it always lines up with your expertise, and I love to hear your opinions. And I'm sure the audience appreciate it as well. Follow Hans on his YouTube channel at Hans C. Nelson. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.